I decided to do something crazy. Instead of planting corn this season, I planted trees. And guess what? My soil has never been healthier. But here's the kicker. It didn't just improve the soil, it saved me money, time, and effort. Stick around to see what happened. Let me take you back to the beginning. For years, I followed the same routine. Plant corn, wait for the harvest, and pray that my soil didn't get too depleted. But over time, the soil started to lose its vitality. The yields weren't what they used to be, and I had to keep adding more fertilizer. I knew something had to change. That's when I discovered something that completely shifted how I think about farming. Agroforestry. Now, if you've never heard of agroforestry, don't worry. It's actually pretty simple. Essentially, it's about planting trees alongside your crops to improve soil health. And it's been around for centuries. But it wasn't until I dug deeper into regenerative farming that I realized how powerful this method is. So instead of planting a typical cornfield, I decided to plant nitrogen-fixing trees. Trees that feed the soil while also giving me a potential income source down the road. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was ready for a change. So I planted black locusts, chestnuts, and a few varieties of acorns along my fields. I also planted mulberry trees and some other fast-growing species. These trees are not just about providing shade. They fix nitrogen in the soil, which is vital for improving soil fertility. Nitrogen is one of the most important nutrients plants need, and these trees do it for free. And here's the crazy part. Instead of relying on expensive synthetic fertilizers, these trees started to naturally regenerate my soil. The results were unbelievable. After just one season, my soil was darker, the texture was looser, and it started holding moisture much better. I could already see my plants reacting, healthier leaves, stronger stems, and more vibrant crops. How it works. So, you're probably wondering why planting trees instead of corn works so well. Let me break it down for you. 1. Nitrogen-fixing trees. The magic of these trees lies in their ability to fix nitrogen. You've probably heard the term nitrogen-fixing plants before, but let me explain how it works. Certain trees, like black locusts and acacias, form a special relationship with bacteria in their roots. These bacteria take nitrogen from the air and convert it into a form that plants can actually use. For the past century or so, our farming systems have relied heavily on synthetic fertilizers to provide nitrogen to our crops. But the problem with synthetic fertilizers is that they only supply nitrogen in a non-renewable form. You have to keep buying it, and it doesn't help improve the soil in the long run. In contrast, nitrogen-fixing trees create a closed-loop system. They don't just feed the plants around them, but they also contribute to the long-term health of the soil. Every year, these trees add nitrogen to the soil for free. As their roots work, they release nitrogen into the soil, which plants can then absorb. And the best part? You don't need to buy fertilizer year after year. Why is this important? In regenerative farming, the goal is to build soil naturally without relying on chemicals. Nitrogen-fixing trees do exactly that. They provide nutrients sustainably, enriching the soil for future generations of crops. 2. Reduced erosion. Another key benefit of planting trees instead of traditional crops like corn is the reduction in erosion. Corn, as a row crop, has relatively shallow roots, which makes it vulnerable to soil erosion, especially during heavy rains or when the wind picks up. On the other hand, trees have deep roots that stretch far below the soil surface, anchoring the soil and preventing erosion. Trees essentially act like living barriers. Their roots hold the soil together, reducing the risk of it washing away during heavy storms. This is particularly important if you're farming on slopes or near bodies of water. Soil erosion is a major issue, and it's something that's often overlooked in conventional farming, but it leads to the loss of precious topsoil that is hard to replace. Think about it. Every year you keep the soil intact, the trees are not only preventing erosion, but they're also encouraging the regrowth of the soil structure. This means that your fields will be healthier year after year, and your soil will retain its nutrients. And as the trees grow deeper roots, they'll only get better at stabilizing the soil and creating a more resilient farming system. 3. Better soil structure. Another thing that trees do for the soil is improve its structure. You've probably heard of the term soil compaction before. Over time, as you plant and harvest crops, your soil becomes compressed due to the weight of tractors, equipment, and constant tillage. This compaction makes it harder for roots to grow, water to drain, and air to circulate. Trees are a natural remedy for this problem. Their deep, expansive roots break up compacted soil, creating air pockets and tunnels. This allows water to drain better and provides oxygen to plant roots. If you've ever had to deal with clay-heavy soils that don't drain well, you know how frustrating it can be. But trees help by loosening the soil and making it more workable. When trees break up compacted soil, they also improve the water-holding capacity. The soil becomes spongier, allowing it to hold moisture for longer, which is especially important in dry climates. Not only does this improve the soil for your crops, but it also benefits the microbial life in the soil. Earthworms, fungi, and other beneficial organisms thrive in this looser, healthier soil, contributing even further to its long-term fertility. 4. Organic matter and mulching. Another amazing thing trees do is produce organic matter. As trees grow, they shed leaves, twigs, and branches, all of which become natural mulch for your soil. This organic matter breaks down over time and adds important nutrients back into the soil. This mulch acts as a protective blanket for the soil, keeping it moist, cool, and protected from the harsh sun. It also helps prevent weeds from growing, and it encourages the growth of microorganisms. These microorganisms are essential for breaking down organic matter, creating nutrient-rich soil that plants love. Over time, this mulch creates a self-sustaining system that doesn't require extra inputs. You can think of the trees as having their own built-in composting system. Every time they drop leaves and branches, they're giving you free mulch, which in turn improves your soil health with minimal effort from you. It's a perfect example of nature working with you rather than against you. The benefits of agroforestry. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, the long-term benefits of planting trees instead of corn. This is where it really starts to get interesting. 1. Healthier soil over time. Agroforestry is all about creating a self-sustaining system that builds healthier soil over time. When you plant trees, you're not just improving the soil for one season, you're building it up for future generations. The soil gets richer, more resilient, and more fertile the longer you use trees in your farming system. With traditional crops like corn, you have to keep adding more fertilizer and using chemicals to keep the soil productive. But with agroforestry, you create a virtuous cycle. The trees improve the soil, and the soil helps the trees grow. This system gets better every year. By adding more trees to your farm, you can start to see a shift in your soil health. You'll notice increased organic matter, better nutrient cycling, and improved water retention. Your plants will start to grow stronger, and your farm will become more resilient in the face of challenges like drought, pests, and disease. 2. Reduced input costs. One of the best things about switching to agroforestry is the cost savings. When you stop relying on synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, you start saving money. The trees are providing natural fertilizer for your soil, and you're using less machinery since the trees do a lot of the work for you. Fertilizers, especially nitrogen fertilizers, can get expensive. You don't have to buy these products year after year if you're planting nitrogen-fixing trees. Over time, you'll find that your input costs decrease dramatically. Not only does this save money, but it also makes your farm more sustainable in the long term. You'll be using fewer resources and reducing your carbon footprint by using natural regenerative methods. 3. Increased biodiversity. Another benefit of agroforestry is the increase in biodiversity. By planting trees, you're not just improving the soil for your crops, you're also creating a haven for wildlife. Birds, insects, and even small mammals are attracted to agroforestry systems. These species contribute to the overall health of your farm by pollinating plants, controlling pests, and increasing soil fertility. More biodiversity also means fewer pests. A farm with more wildlife and healthy ecosystems is naturally better at maintaining balance. Instead of relying on chemical pesticides which harm the environment, you can use nature's own pest control. 4. Carbon sequestration. Another huge advantage of planting trees is their ability to capture carbon. Trees act as carbon sinks. absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in their leaves, roots, and trunks. The more trees you plant, the more carbon your farm can absorb. This is a win for the environment because it helps reduce greenhouse gases and mitigate climate change. So here's the bottom line. Planting trees instead of corn is one of the best things you can do for your farm's health and sustainability. Not only does it improve your soil, but it also saves you money, boosts biodiversity, and helps combat climate change. The trees will do the work of enriching the soil while also providing a long-term solution that keeps your farm resilient and productive year after year. Ready to start planting trees on your farm? Subscribe for more regenerative farming tips, and check out my video on how I revived my soil in 48 hours using compost tea.